today, a pretty cool announcement happened that frankly also is kinda weird. That being a new Sonic game, which itself isn't weird, but it just starts with footage of Generations. Now look, Generations is one of my favorite games in the series, but it's also confusing since it was done as part of a PlayStation Presents. If you're like, this game's already been ported to everything, why is it showing up? That's because after nearly 20 years, the fan favorite Ultimate Lifeform finally has a new game. Sonic X Shadow Generations. Now hey, editing Brandon here. I forgot to mention, this is also a remaster of the original Sonic Generations. It's just going to have new content focused around Shadow. We don't know how much it is. Hopefully it's more than episode Shadow. Either way, I just thought I'd clear that up, because I did forget to mention that. Now look, I'm gonna be honest. Sonic Generations is one of my favorite games. This looks to be covering parts of Sonic games that I felt Generations probably should have covered, or games that were skipped despite being out at the time. And this game's announcement comes as a bit of a shock to me. Despite Sonic releasing games constantly, we got 3 last year. I'll be honest, kind of expected a break. There was quite the big gap between Sonic Forces and Frontiers, but no! Back to this series being annual! Somehow! And is there an incredibly high likelihood this game is a tie-in to the Sonic movie? Absolutely! But I do obviously want to talk about the actual game in question that we are here to discuss. But before we do that and look through the trailer and all that usual stuff that people do when there's a trailer for a game analysis video thing, let's just talk about the obvious, this is a tie-in to the movie. I did just allude to that, I pretty well explicitly stated it, but I figure I might as well explain it in case you don't know. The 2 Sonic movies that are out right now take light inspiration from Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, respectively. Given the second Sonic movie does include Gun, as well as pretty well just showing us Shadow's new design for the 3rd film. And since we jump around a little bit with the earlier games, it's been highly likely since literally the 2nd film aired in theaters the first day that the sequel would be based on Sonic Adventure 2. And then they just released the logo for the 3rd film. At this point, it's not even subtle. And now, for around a few months before the 3rd movie releases, they announce a Shadow the Hedgehog spin-off. So, you know, doesn't seem coincidental. And, I mean, it's a good year for Shadow fans in general, with Sonic Prime Season 3, the 3rd movie, and now this upcoming game. Anyway, 3 minutes into the video talking about the announcement for this game, let's actually talk about this game. I'm great at structuring videos, but yeah, we can actually talk about the trailer now. I'm gonna skim over, like, the majority of it, because half of the trailer is just footage from Generations. And then there's Shadow's reveal, which is probably exclusive to this, but I just need to mention, 1, great detail in getting the cinematic to look almost the exact same, and secondly, the actual expressions are done really well for what is a very much blink and you miss it scene. This is then followed up by what seems to be Final Rush from Sonic Adventure 2. Sonic's final level, and one that Shadow is never able to play, which seems really weird to me given the context. We then see Doom's Eye from Shadow the Hedgehog, which I cannot comment if this is a level from Shadow the Hedgehog itself, because I have not played that game. Either way, the kaleidoscope looking thing is really cool. Either way, after that is what seems to be Lethal Highway from Shadow the Hedgehog, although it could also be Westopolis. After that is everyone's favorite Sonic boss, the Bio-Lizard. I can't really make much of a comment on it, it's kinda just a cool action shot showing an iconic boss, and after that, the trailer ends. But before we get to my speculations, please consider to like and subscribe since it helps with the channel an absolute ton. I think there's a high likelihood we see levels from Sonic Heroes and a lot of the other games Shadow was playable in. For Heroes, if I had to guess, I'd say Rail Canyon, but really any level aside from the very first one in that game could work. Frankly, I just kind of associate the rail grinding elements of Sonic with Shadow, And also, it is definitely a more dull in color palette level, which fits the 3 levels that were shown off in the trailer. For 06, I'd say White Acropolis. It is Shadow's kind of main level and the one I think is most associated with him from that game, as well as, I believe, a level that is exclusive to him. Plus, we honestly don't have that many snow levels, and I don't think there's a single one in Generations 1. So I think it fits quite well. The last game I have to mention is Sonic Forces, and I guess we're going with enemy territory. Frankly, you could just make all 3 of Shadow's levels from that game into one big level. It would take about the same amount as a normal Sonic level to beat anyway. No, seriously, like, go on YouTube after this video and search long plays of episode Shadow. They're like 10 to 20 minutes with cutscenes. But that's honestly kind of it for Sonic games Shadow has appeared in, which is really interesting. Like, mainline games where he's playable, I have covered all of them. Obviously, aside from Shadow the Hedgehog and SA2, but those were mentioned earlier, so I didn't feel the need to mention them. But as for other levels I'd like to see, we can either do fan favorites from other Sonic games, or make some new original levels. And personally, I want a mix of both. For new and original levels, I would love to see a new Space Colony Arc level. We have a handful from SA2, but I don't think there's a single speed level where you just get to run through Space Colony Arc, and that would be incredible. And if we're playing with time travel or memories like the original Generations, I would absolutely love to see a level that takes place during Project Shadow. Hell, you could just make my 2 suggestions one level. Frankly, that would make more sense. It's hard to say for existing levels though, since aside from the ones I mentioned that are associated with Shadow, there aren't really any clear victors. Especially since the original Generations managed to make a fantastic level out of Sonic 06. Given 06's level design isn't actually that bad, it's mostly engine and story structural problems that cause the issues, as proven with Project 06, but that's besides the point. Genuinely, I'm quite excited for this game, and I think you can see that just from this video's length on what is effectively closer to a 30-second teaser trailer than an actual trailer, since around half of the trailer is reused footage. And throw Metaphor on top of that, and Sega's already looking to have an incredible holiday season. Either way, what are your thoughts on the upcoming Sonic game, Sonic X Shadow Generations? Also, how do you pronounce that? I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!